Hey, it's Fat Man on Batman. I'm Marc Bernardin. We are here today to give you some news. News. Batman news, Flash news, more Batman news. Fuck it, Batman, Fat Man, Batman. Be right back. Hey, it's Marc Bernardin again, a solo episode of the Fat Man on the Batman, because our man Kevin Smith is up in Canada directing himself an episode of The Flash. Flash 2, Electric Boogaloo for him up in Vancouver. Hopefully he's playing nice with others, because you never can tell. In Canada, you think everything's all nice, but maybe it's not nice. I'm sure it's not always nice. They have an army of moose soldiers. Maybe, I don't know what happens up there. But that's where he is, so I'm here. Me, myself, and I. Next episode, we got a special guest. You'll have to stay tuned for that guy. Or girl. But it's a guy. I'll just let you in on that. But before we get to the news today, we got to talk about Loot Crate. Why? Because it's fucking Loot Crate time. Today's episode is brought to you by Loot Crate. Big old box of awesome. For a low monthly fee, Loot Crate delivers you a bunch of geeky stuff you know you're going to love. 6 to 8 items in here. Let's see what's in this episode's Loot Crate. It says Pacific Rim on it. Pacific Rim, you get a Jaeger, what? A Futurama t-shirt to wear at the golf club, because, you know, geeks and golf. Yeah, I get that. Sure. There was some awesome Gundam thing. Maybe it's a model kit. If it's a model kit, I'm on board, because I haven't built one of those since I was 9, and I like sniffing the glue. This looks like it's a blanket, maybe, of something. Starfleet Academy towel. Blanket, shawl, it's a wrap. You can wear it in public. You can wear it to fancy occasions. Water bottle from OCP, you know, when you're building an Ed 209, you get thirsty. Buck Rogers print. I'm keeping that one. You can't have it. That belongs to me. It all belongs to me. And it can also belong to you. Listen, for less than 20 bucks a month. Lace up your sneakers and rev up your engines. September's all about speed. Batman, CW's Flash, Arrow, Battlestar Galactica, Iron Man, Gone in 60 Seconds, Loot Crate, Pacific Rim, awesome. Listen, you have until the 19th of this month to order, so get to it. Check the link in the description. It's down here somewhere. I don't know, not up here. This is me. This is all me, but it's down there somewhere. More information, click there. Thanks to Loot Crate for sponsoring this episode, because it's going to be great. Thank you, Loot Crate, for helping us to bring people the news that they can use about the nerd stuff that they love so much. Big news item this week. Guess who's in the Batman movie? The solo Batman movie with Ben Affleck? Deathstroke. That's right. In a cryptic tweet from Affleck, he said, hey, maybe I'm going to have a bad guy. Maybe he's got an orange and black mask. You know who it is. And then Instagram video of test footage of, I don't know if the guy was in the suit. Maybe it's just test footage. I don't know. Joe Manganiello is playing Deathstroke. You know him from Magic Mike and Magic Mike XXL and True Blood. He played a giant wolf. Now he's playing a giant badass. Created by Marv Wolfman, George Perez in the 80s. Brought to Arrow recently in a pretty badass way. Listen, we could all, or I could, I know how you people think I feel about the new DC Universe movies. I have my issues. They're well known. I've never been shy about said issues. But I've also never been shy about the fact that I think Ben Affleck was actually really good as Batman. I also think he's an amazing filmmaker. So Batman, the good Batman, in a movie directed by a great director, I'm board. Deathstroke makes total sense as a Batman villain. I want my villain and my hero to sort of, not to necessarily be like mirror images of each other, but to be on the same level and the same scale as each other. A villain we've never seen on the big screen before, bring it. I'm all about this. Other Batman news. You know that Batman, The Return of the Caped Crusaders animated movie with Adam West and Burt Ward and Julie Newmar doing voices? That's going to theaters. The same way that The Killing Joke went to theaters for a little bit, for a day or two, and made a boatload of money, way more money than you'd have thought that movie would have made in theaters. They're doing the same thing for that. They're world premiering it at the New York Comic Con in October 6th. If I remember correctly, and by remember, I mean just read on this piece of paper that has the information. World premiere of the New York Comic Con, placed in theaters one night only. That's October 10th, the night before the Blu-ray is released. Fathom, you know Fathom, they bring you all of that cool, awesome shit. They brought you Yoga Hosers, right? You got to see Yoga Hosers in theaters with a half-hour intro from Kevin and Harley. Super sweet. Fathom is doing good things for good people, you guys. They're doing it for you. They're doing it out of love and money because it's a business. and that's how business works. But if business works in a way that brings you the shit that you love, don't look askance at it. That'll be the word of the day, askance. I like that word. All right, more DC movie news. This is all DC, all the time. See, don't complain we never bring you the stuff about the DC and the Batman. They cast Henry Allen in the Flash movie. Now, I know you're all about this movie. I'm all about this movie. Even though I would way more be about a Grant Gustin Flash movie, we're not going to get that. So given that we're not going to get that, we have to make do with what we have. So Ezra Miller's playing the Flash, and now Billy Crudup is in talks to play Dr. Henry Allen in the Flash movie. This will be, he's not so much walking between worlds, but just staying within the DC world, given that he was Dr. Manhattan in Zack Snyder's Watchmen. So you see how these things dovetail. He's probably not going to be naked in CG in this movie, but listen, knock on wood, you can start a petition if you want to see naked CG Dr. Henry Allen. I'm sure you could get some support for that petition because, you know, the internet, they like things, and why not? So yes, this movie directed by Rick Famuyiwa, I'm going to pretend I'm pronouncing that right, who did The Dope Dope, starring Shameik Moore, who is the star, or one of the stars, of The Get Down. He plays Shaolin Fantastic. I will bring everything back to The Get Down. If you let me, I will find a way to make everything about The Get Down. But yes, so he's directing The Flash, filling in for the other dude who left, Seth Grahame-Smith. Creative differences. Not everything is all hunky-dory all the time in Hollywood, especially when there's hundreds of millions of dollars on the line. But so Rick is stepping in. I feel like he's, you know, the right guy for that job. Like he knows how to channel that youthful energy because Dope was all about kids and all about kids who are smart. And if Barry Allen is nothing more, he's a kid who's smart. So given if Henry Allen is in this, signs are pointing to this also being an origin story. And as much as I have also gone on record saying I don't need origin stories of Spider-Man ever again, I know what that is. I don't need origin stories of Batman ever again. I know what that is. And I feel like the world knows what those are. The Flash, yeah, you know, there's a bunch of people, there's millions of people who watch it every week on TV, but there's also hundreds of millions of people who don't. And so need a little bit of a refresher, need a little bit of a sort of a breadcrumb trail to lead them into the story, so why the hell not? That makes total sense to me. So those are the three good news stories this week. Those are the things that we can all get behind, we all think are amazing, we all think are awesome, we can't wait to see. The last thing we're going to talk about is the bad news. Now, this happened about a week ago, but Gene Wilder passed away. For some of you, like Gene Wilder was not that present in your lives in the last 10 years or so. If you're an old man like me, say born in 1843, then you remember that Gene Wilder was an icon, was a paragon of that kind of entertainment. He was, his comedy was a comedy of almost academia. Like he studied acting, like for real acting, like Lee Strasberg acting, like Stanislavski method acting. Like he was never a comedian who went on stage to do stand-up. He was never that guy. He was a guy who studied it and figured out exactly how it worked and how to make it work on screen. And so when you watch movies like Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein and Willy Wonka, you see a guy who knew how to make you feel. And comedy doesn't work unless you feel for it, unless you have some empathy for it. One of my favorite stories is he was talking about being cast in Willy Wonka, and the producers came to him and they said, would you like to play this crazy chocolatier who twists the minds of children and tortures them for his own delight, and also to find an heir to his fortune? But he said, listen, here's the conditions to which I will do this movie. I want the first time you meet Willy Wonka to be him coming out of his factory behind the gates, and he's hobbling, he's got a cane, and then I want him to fall down, and mid-fall, he tumbles and then stands up. Like, I want you to never know what you're gonna expect out of Willy Wonka. I want you to always be on edge with this guy. I don't want you to feel comfortable with him around children. But that was his condition. And once they met that condition, he took that role. And that role it's a high wire. Like he's supposed to be avuncular. He's supposed to be the guy you want to spend time with, but he's also supposed to be a little bit dangerous. You know, the suspense is killing me. I hope it lasts. that is what that character is about. It's about the tension between, you know, right and wrong, between safe and dangerous. And so much of his career, so much of his great work was about understanding how tension works to build comedy. There's that rule that I think was, at least I first heard about it when watching The Simpsons, of the rules of 3 and 7. That a thing is funny 3 times, and then it's funny again 7 times. Not funny on the first or second, not funny on the 4th, 5th, or 6th, but 3s and 7s. And when you watch, especially Young Frankenstein, there's the scene where he's in a lecture hall, and some, you know, student is razzing him about his, you know, the actual Victor Frankenstein, and he's Frankenstein. And he stabs, he's talking about, like, there's no way to reanimate dead tissue, the cerebellum is dead, and we cannot bring the dead to life. And he stabs his leg with a scalpel. And it is a full 10 seconds before he says anything after that. And those 10 seconds, in those 10 seconds, is the root to that kind of comedy. It is all about letting the moment last, letting it build, letting it marinate, letting it bake in the oven until the ding goes off, and then you can break that tension. That's what made him brilliant. That's what made him a genius. We lost him to complications from Alzheimer's at 83 years old. And it is a great loss for people who love comedy, who love the business of comedy, who love the science of comedy. He was a practitioner of the highest order. And we are better for him having been here, and we are worse for him leaving. So just a little shout out to Gene Wilder, a little bit of love from the Fat Cave to those he leaves behind. And with that, we're gonna wrap up this little episode. There's not a ton I want to do without smiling Kevin Smith by my side, but I felt like it was time to just hold it down, to represent, to bring it all home for you guys at home. Because why not? We're all here. We're all here together. There's some nerd shit happening. We can talk about it. You can come on the Twitters. I'm at Marc Bernardin. You can come and yell at me or adore me. Either one. I'm not a vengeful God. I take all comers. I'm merciful at best, petty at worst, but vengeful never. So come find me. Come find us in the old Fat Cave. YouTube.com/Kevin Smith. We'll be back soon. Remember, next episode, I got a super special guest. This person, if you were to look on his IMDb page, you would find over 300 credits over a career that spanned 30 years, who is as big a geek as anybody I've ever met, and we'll talk at length about all of it. Well, maybe, here's the thing. If we talked at length, we would have been here for like 5 or 6 hours, and I am not that cruel. I am not vengeful either. Remember, merciful God. So, we'll see you next time. Same fat time, same fat channel, smodcast.com or youtube.com/Kevin Smith. Thank you, boys and girls.
Hey man, it's me, Kevin Smith. Thanks for watching. Do me a favor, click that thing below that says subscribe. Every time you click that, you save a baby kitten from murder.